So welcome back, everyone. We keep rolling along. I'd like to thank Emperor Technologies for sponsoring the networking coffee break. Again, these events work quite well. I think we are getting into the mode of mingling, asking questions, sharing experiences, and so on. Actually, from the first session this morning, which was so lively, I noticed from our seat here at the top that in some parts of the hall, there were a number of conversations going on at the same time. And that's the interactive part of the day that we'd like to keep for this afternoon. Kidding aside, I think some of you want to exchange during the presentations, but we'd ask you to either refrain from that or keep the voice level down so that we don't disrupt other members in the hall. So your cooperation there would be very much appreciated. So we go on now to session 4, and our moderator is Michael Hawley. Perhaps an appropriate way of introducing Michael is to recall that he was presented on the first day of the symposium with the second TRIP Award of Excellence. The award recognizes Michael's outstanding contribution to the development, promotion, and implementation of the Traveler Identification Program. And specifically, Michael was very active with the ICAO Technical Advisory Group on machine-readable travel documents and the New Technologies Working Group since 2001. He also served as chair of the NTWG and on the board of the ICAO Public Key Directory, as well as taking part in various other activities related to travel documents and facilitation. So as you can see, Michael is an ideal choice to moderate session 4 on MRTD standards and specifications. Michael, congratulations again on your award, and we look forward to a great session.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Every issuing authority has important responsibilities. They have the great responsibility of protecting the integrity of the passport life cycle. Not only does this travel document prove nationality, it documents identity. Because of this, the passport is the most valuable travel document in the world and requires the highest level of protection for the document, for the adjudication of the application, and for the information of those citizens requesting this document. Face morphing and the ability to detect it is an area of high interest to a number of issuing authorities, and those authorities employing face recognition for identity verification. Face morphing is an image manipulation technique where two or more subject faces are morphed or blended together to form a single face in a photograph. Morphed photos can look very realistic, like all contributing subjects. If a morph photo gets onto a passport, for example, multiple individuals can use the same passport. Morphs can be used to fool both humans and current face recognition systems, such as those deployed in automated border control gates, which present a vulnerability to current identity verification processes. Fons Canopius provides an insight of the art of morphing and morphing detection. The use of public key infrastructure is vital to maintaining the security and integrity of the passport. PKI plays a key role in assuring that high standards of business and ethical practices are inherent throughout the passport issuing process and passport lifespan. The highest priorities of any issuing authority are maintaining this passport's integrity, their passport issuing process, and the protection of all their citizens. Electronic passport technology, when implemented correctly, issued and validated in accordance with ICAO specifications and recommended practices, provides the highest level of assurance that the traveler is actually whom they claim to be. The electronic security features encoded within the chip of the e-passport both protect the data from tampering or modification, as well as providing a cryptographic binding of the document to its issuing state and a biometric binding of the traveler to the document. A global fabric of trust, the ICAO PKI data and processes underlying these documents makes authentication a security feature, ensuring that fraudulent documents are easily identified. Ms. Perez Tosini and Mr. Ramirez Prieto, as well as Mr. Rajesh Kumar, will offer valuable information on e-passport validation. I'd like to start this session by introducing Fons. Fons is the Senior Research and Development Advisor at the National Office of Identity Data. This is part of the Dutch Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations. He has worked on with several governments during their development of passports and identity documents. He's also was a major contributor to the Dutch travel document. Fons has executed assessments on identity infrastructures throughout Europe, Africa, and Asia. In 2009, he was a researcher regarding identity systems of many European countries. The results was summarized in a report entitled European Identity Systems, a Comparative Study. Fons was also a key researcher in the European program Fidelity. Please welcome Fons to the podium.
Thank you, Mike, for this nice introduction. Let me start with a kind of confession. I'm a bit nervous. And honestly, I think it is because of the fact that I'm in this team headed by the moderator who was this week awarded. I feel some pressure on me. Anyway, I'm going to do my best to make a interesting presentation for you. It's about state-of-the-art morphing detection. This is a program where we are working on, which is financed by the European Commission. And although that this presentation is my presentation, it's not a presentation of the Commission. Oh, wow, it's faster than I am. As Mike was saying, I'm of the National Office of Identity Data, and that is a office that has responsibilities in several parts of the identity domain. So we are issuing passports and identity cards. To give you an idea, it's roughly speaking 3.7 million in total a year. We are responsible for managing our national population register, where the practical maintenance is in the hands of municipalities, but we at the national level are managing all of this technically, and we are providing parties who are needing information out of the population register. That's all a responsibility of my organization. We are issuing as well unique identification numbers to citizens, so every Dutch citizen has a unique identification number. we have a unit which is active in the domain of identity fraud, the prevention of that specifically. So we are available to assist Dutch citizens in case they become a victim of identity fraud, and that is highly appreciated, I can tell you. Of course, we have some programs that are taking care about qualities, and last but not least, we are working very hard on innovations, and that's, I think, presented on the previous symposium by my boss, Rodi Amas. She introduced at that time some innovations. Anyway, you have an impression where I'm coming from. Mike was introducing the issue of photomorphing, and I can tell you it's not a hypothetical issue. We have experience with that, practical experience, and I'm not proud on it, but it's nowadays reality for issuing authorities, and I'm afraid as well for immigration services. So we, at a certain moment, were contacted by our German colleagues because they had a case. They stopped someone who was trying to board the plane to Toronto, Canada, and this person was using a Dutch passport, and there was doubt about the photograph. And then a whole investigation was started up, and the German colleagues were correct by concluding that this was a document with a morphed photograph. But then, of course, the question popped up, what is the identity of the user of this document? Is this really the data that are in the document, or is it a person which fits the photograph, but do we have the details, are that other details, the identity details? Of course, it could have been very valuable at that time if we could verify the identity based on a fingerprint, which is stored on the chip of the document. However, we are currently still not at a level, pity enough, that we can use those fingerprints in Europe, because we are not very careful exchanging the certificates to give each other the opportunity to verify. Anyway, a complete investigation was set up, and it's interesting to see because the user of the document in Germany was a person originally coming from Afghanistan. That person contacted a guy who was living in the Netherlands, had the Dutch nationality, and came originally from Afghanistan. The person that was using the passport was asking for asylum in Belgium, and he contacted the guy in the Netherlands, and that guy was willing to assist by the application of a passport, Dutch passport, based on a morphed photograph. Well, as you can imagine, the civil servant didn't notice it, and the passport came in circulation, and the asylum seeker who was staying in Belgium started his trip to Canada. I'm not, let's say, bothering you with all kinds of details about this operation. I think it's important, however, to share with you that we constantly have followed what this investigation was making clear, and I think the most important conclusion from my side is that it is an issue which has, by definition, an international component. Afghanistan was playing a role, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Canada. And then, of course, the question pops up, who has responsibility to execute this investigation, which by definition, if it becomes international, is complexing. And so all these kind of things, we have observed it, we learned it, we have seen how hard it was for the public prosecutor to understand what morphing was. She never had heard before about it. And of course, the same experience we had with the judge on the court. So they were all handling this kind of new forms of fraud without having any experience in that. So very interesting to learn that. Of course, it's probably for you interesting to know that my country still has a process based on the procedure that an applicant is bringing his physical photograph to the application center. And there are, of course, a lot of countries who have that. There are countries who have a process of live enrollment. And then, of course, the risk of photomorphing is substantial, smaller. But anyway, we are in the other group. So we realize ourselves that the scale of the problem is potentially large. It's relatively new and not well documented. There's need to evaluate possible countermeasures to current vulnerabilities of the face recognition, and a numerous electronic passports are potentially vulnerable. So, what did we do thereafter? We started a research activity to find out how that works within our organization. So, how does that work for a civil servant if there's coming someone that presents a photograph? So, together with the University of Twente, we were setting up this research activity, and on the sheet you can see some conclusions. We learned that the civil servants are not aware about this risk. So if you're not aware, if you don't have an antenna for that, the chance that you are successfully detecting it is nearly zero. So that means that the risk for the applicant by using a morph photograph is extremely limited, and the photographs have been accepted. So. Looking to the expected rise of passengers and the expected rise of deployment of biometric systems, the vulnerability of biometric systems, and existing morph face image attacks, we were organizing a two-day workshop, an international workshop, and based on the results of that, we went to the European Commission and asking the attention of the Commission for this risk. And I have to say the Commission was really, really interested in and very willing to assist us by setting up a research program and made money available for that. So that was a very good experience. So the Commission was willing to fund. The research activity has been started. We started in February 2019, so this year. And our activity will be ended by February next year. My office, the National Office for Identity Data, is coordinating the whole operations, and we are very happy to do that jointly with the Bundeskriminalamt. And after Mike left the chair of the new technology, my partner in Bundeskriminalamt is Dr. Uwe Seidel, who's currently the chair of the new technology working group. So I think it's good linked. We are working together with 4 universities, the University of Bologna, Darmstadt, Twente, and Gjøvik in Norway, and they all have a task, of course. So the general objective of our activity is to focus on automated border control scenario where a bona fide face image taken at the border control gate is compared against the image in the passport. So on the right side you see the scheme, how this works. So we are working very hard on a mechanism that is able to detect morphing attack detection mechanism. And well, we hope that this mechanism will be available by the end of the year and identify the state of the art of these mechanisms and analysis their detection accuracy on a dataset of morphed face image and bona fide face images. What does that mean? We are working now on the capturing of 150 face images with passport photographs, enrollment, and automated border gate photographs. And those photographs are morphed by the universities. Of course, those photographs are all accordingly the ICAO specifications, and that means that we have a full set of morphs available, and they can play a very important role in the database that we are going to set up. So we print and scan all the morph faces and adapt and integrate at least 3 MET mechanisms and test the MET mechanism. So far, we are working on the database acquisition protocol. We have a evaluation protocol and a pre-selection of facial images. And we are doing our best to set up a database acquisition, morphing, and an evaluation platform. So that's what's on our agenda currently. And of course, yeah, what's in it for you? I think if this database will be operational, and my expectation is that it will be by the end of the year, then we have a reliable, standardized source where as well governments, as well the industry can make use of in case of they like to verify the products that they consider to use for the detection of this morph photographs. So I think really a major step forward. We are definitely working with other governments as well, so there is a lot of interest. We try to work as well together with NIST, so they are also involved, and of course still the European Commission, who's looking very forward to our results. And well, Mr. Chair, there was an indication about my time available. I'm absolutely sure that I'm within the time, but I cannot see it. So I'm proposing to end here my talk and hand over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Franz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next presenters from Spain. If I may, I'd like to introduce both. Yolanda Perez has been a member of the Spanish National Police Force since 2010. Before joining the police force, she studied at the European College of Aeronautics, where she became an airline transport pilot, working for a Spanish airline for 4 years. Yolanda is currently posted at the Identity Documents Division, state body in charge of the issuing, management, and control of the Spanish identity card and passport. She is responsible for training projects as well as the international section of the Documentation Division. Currently, she is involved in new technologies, studies, and is working on different initiatives to update the way documents are issued in Spain. Her professional career is focused on identity and travel documentation, as well as crime investigation. The second presenter, Mr. Valentin Ramirez, received a Bachelor's of Science degree as well as a Master of Science degree in electronics from the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. I'm sorry about that, UPM. Currently, he is the project manager of many innovation projects regarding security, the Spanish ID card, and the Spanish biometric passport. He has also advised many countries on the implementation of security projects related with citizens' identity. He is currently with Real Casa de la Moneda. I'm sorry about the pronunciation. So, Yolanda, welcome. Please welcome Yolanda to the stage. I do apologize.
My presentation is going to be held in Spanish, so you may turn on your translations. Thank you. Bueno, buenos días a todos.
Well, good morning, everybody. First, my thanks to Mike for the introduction, and on behalf of the National Police Force that I'm presenting here, I'd like to thank the organization for giving us another opportunity to present our ID and travel documents, and thank you to all of you for coming and listening to me. The presentation is going to be in three parts. I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I'll hand it over to my colleague, Valentin Ramirez from the National Mint, who will get into the technicalities. And then we'll wrap up with a video that summarizes the issue, which will be much funner to listen to than either of us. So let's get started. So, as Mike said, I'm in the Documents Division of the National Police Force of Spain, and we take care of the issuance and checks of national ID documents and passports in Spain. We have a long-standing tradition and lengthy experience in the issuance of travel documents. We have the national ID card as of 1951, and we have been issuing passports since the year 1300. We use an issuing system that's a little bit unique. It's decentralized, and it has 350,000 offices throughout national territory, and they have autonomous powers to issue IDs and travel documents. So they're autonomous, but they're under the control of the Documents Authority. And this has the advantage of allowing the citizen to go to an issuance office and in just one go, they can get their ID card. It's a one-stop shop, and it takes between 50 minutes and a few days. Right now, we are using the models that you see on the screen. We've been issuing the electronic ID since 2006, and we have the 3.0 version that you see, which is also a travel document. It meets the 9303 standards, the document, the ICAO document, and this is an electronic document, so it has a chip with the data of the owner, family name, signature, picture, fingerprints, and a number of certificates. There are two kinds of certificates. One is for authentication, and the other is an electronic signature, which allows the user to get public services and also do private transactions, as well as cross a border using the ABC system. When a state decides to go ahead and issue electronic documents, then you have to have not just a logistical infrastructure that allows for personalization, But you also have to have a certification infrastructure. So a PKI that ensures the life cycle of the certificates. In our case, we have a data processing center that is in charge of everything having to do with the electronic dimensions of both kinds of documents. And my colleague, Mr. Crespo, is going to be presenting on that tomorrow. So as I said earlier, we started issuing electronic documents in 2006, and in 2008 we decided to launch a project to do a comprehensive PKI reform. It was a strategic decision to keep high standards of infrastructure in terms of quality and security to prevent any kind of attack or cyber threat. And PKI reform means reforming a number of services and introducing guarantees that protect the life cycle of a document. And we set up a number of services for the new PKI infrastructure. You see them here on the screen, and I'm going to run through them quickly because we don't have very much time. The new PKI features are as follows. The Home Ministry is the issuing authority, and they do the electronic keys for citizen ID. There's a first level, which you see on the screen. We have the root certification authorities, which is the trust point of the whole system. And this allows a citizen or a physical or legal person to have the confidence that the document they have in hand certifies their authority. And there's a second level, which is the subordinate certification authorities underneath the root authorities, and they are the ones who actually issue the physical IDs of citizens. In addition, we have published a new revocation authority, which is in charge of publication of certificate revocation lists. And those lists include all certificates that are no longer valid and which cannot be trusted and shouldn't be used by any user in the system. And the reason for revocation could be a lot of things. In some case, the validity is limited, which requires citizens to renew them and upgrade to the new technologies and ensure better protection against threats in the future. With regard to the various validation authorities, they have to check the state of the certificates, and our system verifies the current status of a certificate upon request. We have two kinds of validation authorities. The first is what we call a kiosk, and it's a location where you can update documents, and you see that instrument here on the screen. It's in all of the ID issuing offices, and it can be used by citizens to update their certificates, to revoke them, or to update personal info and their personal ID number. And there are external validation authorities, including the National Mint, the FNMT, at FIRMA meaning signature, in the Department of the Treasury. And to conclude, everything relating to certification, including the new certification practice statement, the CPS, is available on the website. You can see the link on the screen. And that's where you'll get all the information about our certification in PKI and security features, requirements, and issuing criteria. So that's all from me. I'm going to hand it over to Valentine now. Thank you.
Que yo lea la presentación. Buenos días.
Good morning. I'm going to explain the second and the third part, and the third part is a cartoon video which will lighten the atmosphere, I'm sure, and make you happy you came. In 2019, we started revamping the infrastructure for the issuance and control of travel documents in Spain, and that includes the passport and the national ID and residency permit. This is work in progress, and it's supposed to take 2 years. We're coming to the end, and we're hoping that by the end of the year we will have the latest version of our documents, and right now we're in the process of security certification. In this slide, we walk through the general outline of what's being done, but I want to tell you a little bit more about what we've been doing for travel documents, the passport, the national ID, and the residency permit. We don't have time for much more than that. When we developed the new travel documents model, we issued specifications. We worked with the police to create specifications that yield a long-term product that has longevity. And we have been working hard and fast and coming up with new versions of our documents. And this time we are going to completely revamp it with a completely new design. And really the most important thing is to incorporate all of the security features recommended by the various working groups, the European institutions, the labs, to make sure that our new product can last many, many years, and that's the main focus. Another issue we had to deal with was to provide support for 2 asymmetrical key algorithms. A lot of cyber attacks on infrastructure involve smart cards, and so we have to protect the asymmetric key algorithms. We use elliptical curves and to make sure that the cards still function. Another thing the police asked us to do was to reduce the issuance time for documents. In Spain, issuance timeframes are quite good. As Yolanda said, sometimes you get them in 15 minutes. But anything that can save you time is worthwhile, even if it's 15 minutes in a day. So for the national ID card, what takes the most time is the asymmetric cards, the asymmetric keys, and we've reduced that time frame to just a few seconds. Another important issue that we addressed was more flexible manufacturing. We wanted to have one single product that can serve as a national ID, a passport, and a residency permit, and so we have to copy the material in a chip and make sure it can be configured in these various ways. We've always sought the most modern technology, and Spain is on the cutting edge. So now we have 32-bit microprocessors that are the state of the art. They're ARM Cortex chips with 32-bit buses. And we're looking at the platform and the architecture to make further improvements. And we're using the ST platform. Another issue was certification of the new product in accordance with the most important protection profiles for e-passport, e-sign, and e-ID. This ensures that they will be in line with the new European e-IDAS regulation, which is essential. There are a number of other issues. We are working with Microsoft, but there are certain limitations, and we're trying to overcome those limitations. So what have the results been? The developments are going faster. There are shorter issuing times for documents. It's gone down from 90 to about 9 seconds for issuing keys. And the length of time is being reduced and making citizens' lives easier. citizens don't even have to wait a minute and a half. So we expect the wait times will be almost eliminated. Further, all of the recommendations of relevant working groups have been taken on board, and some refer to hardware security and other recommendations are from labs that certify security features in accordance with the common criteria. And the National Intelligence Service also makes recommendations. And we have incorporated all of those recommendations comprehensively into the document. We haven't cherry-picked. With regard to certification, we have DNIE and a PACE passport, and the chip can be configured at the National Mint and can be used for the IT card, the passport, or the residency permit. Now we're going to show you a brief video which will lighten the atmosphere. It's not as technical. Thank you.
DNI 4.0, a new beginning. The time has come for Marina to renew her ID. Marina is lucky enough to be one of the first to obtain the new DNI 4.0. But what's new with this new DNI? Its more powerful and state-of-the-art new chip, with a completely new design, more secure algorithms and keys, complies with the strictest European standards and the most advanced levels in the world. With the latest technology available, it represents a step forward in the process of identity certification, not only in the physical world, but also in today's information society. It prevents any cyber attack and allows secure operation, safe from hackers, in the online world. Its security features guarantee authentication, integrity, and confidentiality. The DNI 4.0 serves as an electronic identification system not only in Spain, but also enjoys full interoperability in many other European public administrations, in compliance with the eIDAS regulations. It's also valid as a travel document and quick border crossing, and during its customization at the Fábrica Nacional de Moneda y Timbre, the chip can be configured as a DNIE, as a PACE passport, or as a residence permit. Thanks to NFC technology, it can be used from mobile phones, and it is 100% compatible with Windows. It is possible to install plug and play and keep your drivers updated through Windows Update, even with contactless readers. In addition, the new DNI 4.0 takes less time to issue, so Marina won't have to wait long to get it in her hands. And all this to improve citizen satisfaction. The new DNI 4.0, smart technology.
Gracias por su atención.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're rounding the corner now. I'd like to introduce Rajesh. Mr. Rajesh Kumar is the Singapore representative to ISO SC17 Work Group 3 and is currently the editor of Document 9303 Part 12, which deals with public key infrastructure for MRTDs, and is the project editor of the upcoming specifications